Today we are talking about strategy, a story about strategy. Not only just strategy, but about multiple offers specifically. So if you are planning on buying or selling a home in the next, really honestly, in the next 3, 4, 5 months, inventory is super tight. So Matt has a fantastic story about a long-term client we're going to jump into. And then right after that, we're going to jump into strategies about multiple offers, how to handle them, what to do, how to prepare for them, all of that good stuff. So, Matthew, welcome to the studio.
I'm ready.
Matt has been a agent actually quite short time with us. During COVID, he joined our brokerage. But Matt is not a stranger to real estate by any means. Matt's been doing real estate for 10 years?
10 years, since 2010.
Oh, man. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary. And so, Matt, you were doing a client. You had a client we were talking about this before, and you have a client that has been a long-term friend, long-term client of yours. And why don't you kind of set the stage of the relationship, how this worked, all that kind of stuff?
Sure. Yeah. So these are long-term clients and friends, as you mentioned, and I've known them probably 15 plus years. We've done 5 transactions together.
Wow.
Some have been good. Some have been not so good.
Tough.
We've had hurdles to get through. And I'm going to tell you a story about one of the transactions we did where we had to overcome a multiple offer. And yeah, there's some good and there's some bad in this story.
So with the 5 transactions that Matt has done, he's basically helped them buy and sell, and then buy and sell again. And so we were talking earlier about a transaction that they did back in 2015, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
And maybe just kind of give us a quick story about what they were looking for, because at that time, really, that was the first time they were actually selling.
That's right.
First time selling. Is that
Yep.
correct?
So this situation, a little bit different than the first situation, because now it involved having a home to sell as well as buying their next home. So they called me over. Matt, we're ready to sell. We get to the kitchen table, sit down, and we talk about what their goals are for the next 5, 10 years looking forward. And how do we get there? And really the key to all of it, to get from point A to point B, is selling their house that they're in.
Yeah. And so, and I think one of the things that Matt and I were talking about was with the strategy is having a really good strategy coming into it. And some of the things that Matt was saying, I really appreciated, is almost reverse engineering. When you're walking into selling a home, buying a home, whatever that is for you, it's actually reverse engineering the whole process. So, and one thing that he said was like the resale value. When you're going to plan to buy a house, like consider what it's going to sell for. That's really, really important.
That was the strategy in their first ever purchase, was not only just finding the right house for them, but top of mind was, are we going to be able to sell this regardless of what the market's doing in 4 to 5 years from now?
Yeah.
And that was key. And, 5 years later, we listed the house, we put a plan together, and I listened to what their goals were. And it was important for them to get that house sold before we moved on to the next house, without having to pull the trigger quickly on a house that they fell in love with over the bells and whistles. More importantly, it was getting their house sold, getting the right price for it.
Totally. And I think a big part of this, all is really understanding when you're going to buy a house and it's going to be potential multiple offers. You don't know when you're walking into a multiple offer situation. So why don't you tell everybody what happened when they were looking for a builder, and feel free to tell them.
So we got their house sold. Congrats. It was great. And next step of the plan was to get out there, find their next house. So we knew what they wanted. We knew the price range that they were looking for. And we knew what communities they were going to be able to find what they wanted for at that price range. So we were looking at new builds, and we found the perfect new build house. Had everything they were looking for, had the location, the bells and whistles. They knew it was something that they could grow into with their family.
Was it already like pre-built already?
It was already pre-built. So it offered a flexible possession. which was great because we were able to time the possession with the sale of their home and not have them be homeless, but at the same time, not have them own 2 homes for a long period of time. So offer written, negotiations back and forth, and we get a verbal agreement. And everybody with the builder. Yeah. So everybody was pleased. We had that verbal agreement. The next step, get it in writing. As always, it's not a deal officially until it's in writing. So right away, drive over to my client's house. We're excited. We're getting all the paperwork signed, and we submit it back to the builder so they can sign off, and we have a conditional sale. During that time period, we had the offer, sent it back to the builder, and another offer sneaks in.
That's the worst. It's actually the worst.
It really was, like having to make that phone call to my clients when they're in the mindset of already preparing to move into their dream home, and, you know, call and break the bad news to them and say, listen, unfortunately, another offer has just come in. And, you know, the buyers are upset. My clients are devastated. They're thinking, well, we have a verbal agreement with this builder. What do you mean another offer has come in? But that is it. That is how it goes. If it's a verbal deal, it's not a official conditional sale until it is all in writing.
So what did you do, and how did you handle the whole process with your client? In order to kind of shift? Because I don't know if you've been in that situation. I just asked this question. Have you been in multiple offers? Comment yes or no below. Maybe just kind of give us how did it turn out for you? Thumbs up, thumbs down. In this situation, we'll find out shortly, was it thumbs up or thumbs down for these clients? But especially if you write an offer and you're negotiating, you come up with a price, it's verbal, we're waiting for signing, and something else comes in. That's tough, because you got to change your mindset now. Initially, the buyer went in ready to write an offer, ready to do all this stuff, negotiate it down, and now, now they're competing.
That's exactly it. Now the mindset has to shift. We're now in that multiple offer situation where, you know, the buyer now has to come up with a new strategy. And it's basically, you know, what's our best foot forward? How much are we willing to put into this home in terms of price to get it? And at that time, I think the buyer was from a very emotional place after I just broke the news to them that we're now in a multiple offer situation. They weren't willing to move. You know, they thought it was a fair price that they got on that property. And unfortunately, this does end with a thumbs down. We lost the property. After all that, the builder chose the other property, and my clients were devastated.
That's tough.
It is tough.
It is tough. And I think the moral of the story there is, how do you prepare yourself? And why I think this story is so key right now. In the last, let's call it last half of August in 2020, that's when we're shooting this. It's September 1st today. Wow.
It is.
Happy September.
Happy September.
Happy go back to school day.
Tomorrow, right?
I don't know. My kids are going to school tomorrow.
So am I.
But the last half of August, from what I can quickly count on top of my head, it's been at least 7 different situations of multiple offers happening right now. That's what's going on. At actually all different price points.
Yeah.
We've got stuff that's in kind of the 300-400s, but we've also seen multiple offers in the 800s. It's happening. And so actually probably almost 8 or 9 that I can think of that the team has talked about. Like Rob was in one last night. Rebecca had 2 this past weekend of multiples. And it's just, it's been crazy. So what we want to talk about is right now at about the 10 and almost 11 minute mark. For the next 5 minutes, we just want to quickly talk about what does it mean and how do you prepare for multiple offers when you're jumping into this. Okay. So preparing yourself for a multiple offer is a much different process than just planning on negotiating. So let's talk about that a bit. What is a multiple offer?
Sure. So a multiple offer situation is when we have multiple buyers bidding on a single property. And it's very prevalent in today's market. We have low levels of inventory. low interest rates driving buyers to the market.
Yep.
And I've had 3 multiple offer deals in the past month. Some have come to fruition and some have gone south.
Yeah.
So it is a mindset shift for a buyer, where now they have to consider a strategy instead of going in with an offer to negotiate the best possible price at that time. Now we're thinking, what's the best foot forward that we can put in on this offer? We're only going to get one chance at this. What's the top price that we're looking at paying for this home?
Yeah. And how the multiple offer process works is whether, so like Matt said, you have multiple buyers bidding on one property, and that seller then basically takes all the offers, looks at them, chooses one to work at. That's what they're supposed to do. Chooses one to look at and work with. And if they can't come to a deal with that one, they can potentially look at the others or start working with them. They can look at them. But ideally, it's working with one of those offers at a time. Now, typically, most sellers in any market are tied to price. And one of the biggest things that you have to prepare yourself for is understanding how much am I willing to pay for this property now. I think the hardest thing with multiple offers is starting out thinking you're negotiating, you're going to get a deal, you're going to negotiate them off of their list price, to all of a sudden now there's another offer and you've already are in that mindset over here. You can see my hand over here. The other hand over here, another offer comes in and now you got to switch. You went from negotiating to competing. And it's really hard for that first offer to win that multiple offer because the second offer coming in already has the mindset of, I know they got one. I'm going to write one anyways because I want to compete. I want this house. So now it is a really tough situation. Mm-hmm. And so what are some of the questions that you ask your clients when that situation happens, when you're buying? What are some of the key questions that you ask?
Right. So really what's key is, how much does that buyer need that home? Does it reach their goals for the next 5 to 10 years? Are they okay losing that home? Yeah. And if they're not okay losing that home, what is their top dollar they're willing to pay for it? Where if they are in a situation that they lose that home, they don't have any regrets because they know they went into it with their best foot forward. And then that way, if you are not successful in that transaction, you did what you can to compete in that offer situation, and you pick yourself up and move on.
Yeah. Well, I think to add to that a little bit too, it's also about the price. And one of the great questions that we have found ourselves asking buyers when they're going into this situation is just a simple one, but it's a really hard one because sometimes you don't know what you will not know what the other offer is offering in terms of value and price and their possession and conditions. You don't know any of that. You're just giving your best foot forward. So the idea is if you woke up tomorrow morning and you found out that this home was bought by someone else for X dollars, how would you feel? Would you be upset? Would you be okay with it? That has been the only way we've been able to help a client understand what are they willing to pay. Mm-hmm. However, there are situations, and we've had them in the last month, where we've asked those questions, you've gone through it, and in the moment, that buyer was not willing to move from that price. But then the next day, they are willing to move a lot more, because they realize that I really want this house. I need this house because of the situation we're in. So you really have to think through, and man, like there's so much emotion tied to a multiple offer situation above and beyond a regular negotiation in real estate, which already is quite emotionally charged. And so I think, I don't know if there's any questions that anyone has while you're watching the replay of this or live here, just let us know in the comments about some of the multiple offer questions you have or things that you need to understand or help prepare in a multiple offer situation. But I don't know, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think when buyers are in a multiple offer situation, they need to understand that this is really best case scenario for a seller. And, a seller has options at this point. And, when we're listing homes, our goal is always to get a multiple offer situation. So being on the other side of that from a buyer's perspective, it's not easy. It's emotional. You need to be able to make a quick decision, and you need to be able to walk away knowing that you put your best foot forward and move on if it's not successful. But in the event that it is successful, buyers they can now proceed with the purchase of that property.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it, everybody. I hope this has been an interesting story about strategy. Unfortunately, Matt's clients back in 2015 did lose that house, but they found another one.
They did. So
they loved it.
They found an even better house, better neighborhood, better price. So the moral of the story is...
And then they just moved again.
So that was back in 2015, and we did another successful transaction this year. And we didn't tell that story today, but it wasn't a multiple offer story. And really for them at the end of it, when the moral of the story is if you do lose out on a multiple offer, you love that house, there's always another house around the corner.
It's true. It's really, really, really true. Really, really true. There will always be something else that comes up. But don't be attached to what that house was if you lost it, because you won't find that house again. But there will be something that will be equally as good. We promise.
Perfect.
Right. Perfect. Yep. Well, that wraps it up for today. Thank you so much. If you have comments, questions, leave them in the box below. Depending on where you're watching this, feel free to subscribe and like and share if you found value in this content today. So have a wonderful day, and we will chat with you all soon.